Hi grade 9s, it's Miss Lungaraj here, and I'm going to do another video today about polynomials. And this time we're going to add and we're going to subtract polynomial expressions. And so by the end of this video, these two questions on the screen you should be able to do. And so that would be a good test to whether you understand this video or not. So let's start with adding polynomials, because adding polynomials is a little bit easier than subtracting polynomials. So we're going to try these two questions where we're adding polynomials. And remember, a polynomial is just an expression where there are x's in the expression because there's something that we just don't know. So let's try the first one together now. This question asks us to add x squared plus 3x plus 1 plus 4x squared plus 5. When we have a question like this where there's brackets around the first polynomial and brackets around the second polynomial, what we can do is we can just ignore the brackets altogether. We can write down x squared plus 3x plus 1 plus 4x squared plus 5. The brackets mean absolutely nothing except for the fact that we've got one group plus another group when we're adding. So now we can do the same thing we did before. I've got a square, and there's no number here, but we know if there's no number here, it means we have one square. Here we have 3 x's. Here we have the number 1. Here we have 4 squares. And here we have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we can group them together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5x squareds. We have 1, 2, 3 x's. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plus 6. So that's pretty simple. Now what I want to show you is sometimes people use a stacking method. A stacking method means they just put the two questions on top of each other, or the two parts on top of each other. So I'll show you what they might do. They would go x squared plus 3x plus 1. That's the first polynomial. And underneath it, they would put 4x squared plus 5. So they would put the 4x squared here plus 5 over here, because the x squareds go together and the parts with no x's go together. So here I have 1x squared plus 4x squareds give me 5x squareds. Here I just have 3 x's. And here I have 6. It's pretty straightforward. Now let's look at the second question. And this second question is more difficult than the first one. It asks us to add 2a squared plus 3ab plus 4b squared, and then add 7a squared plus ab plus negative 2b squared. So let's try this question now. You can see that it's a little different from things we've seen before. Here we have an a squared. Here we have a b squared, and here we have this thing that has a and b in it. But what we need to do is we need to combine the things that are the same. So I've got 2a squared here. Let's do the stacking method where I put the other part underneath. So this 7a squared is being added to the 2a squared. This ab is being added to this 3ab because they're the same. And last but not least, this negative 2b squared is going over there. So we need to add these together. I need to do 2a squared plus 7a squared gives me 9a squareds. 3ab plus 1ab gives me 4ab. And then this one's a little tricky. 4b squared plus negative 2b squared. This negative is right in front. It means it's a negative 2. So I need to, with my calculator, I need to go 4 plus negative 2. If I do 4 plus, remember the negative button on the calculator is the one that looks like this, or the one that looks like this. I would get a plus 2b squared, and that should be the answer. Okay, we're going to try another one. So we're going to use the stacking method again, where you put the things that are similar together. So I have negative 2x squared plus 3x plus 1 plus negative x squared minus 6. So what I want to do is I want to take this negative x squared and put it over here. I want to take this negative 6 and put it over here. And don't forget we're adding. So this means I need to add negative 2 plus negative, oh, what number is here? Oh, that's actually a 1. So I need to do on my calculator, negative 2 plus negative 1, or I can do negative 2 subtract 1. Either one will be fine, okay? No matter how you do that, whether you go negative 2 plus negative 1, or you just do negative 2 subtract 1, you'll get the same answer, and that will be negative 3x squared. The only thing you really need to remember is that when this sign is at the beginning, it means you have to use this button right here. You can't use subtraction button, it's negative, so you need to use that sign. The same thing over here. If you're doing adding, then this right here, this would be a negative. But if you're doing this, then this, and there's only one sign in the middle, that means negative 2, this would be subtract 1. Okay, so you're getting negative 3x squared. Here there's nothing, here there's nothing to add to the 3x, so I just have 3x. And here I have 1 subtract 6. So I would need to do 1 subtract 6. Or you could do 1 plus negative 6. Either one works fine, but if I do 1 subtract 6 or 1 plus negative 6, it's going to give me negative 5. And that is the simplified, the shorter way of writing this big long expression. Okay, we're gonna do a question now where we're gonna look at a shape. And for the shape, the sides are going to be polynomial expressions, and we want to find the perimeter. So here's my shape, and the picture only gives me 2 sides. It tells us the top is 3x plus 9 and the side is 4x minus 5, but we can use common sense and realize that the top is 3x plus 9, the bottom is 3x plus 9, the right side is 4x minus 5, and the left side is 4x minus 5. So what we want to do if we're finding perimeter is we need to add those all together. So here's my perimeter question. I'm adding up the 4 sides. And don't forget that if we are adding polynomials, all you need to do is get rid of the brackets. So that means we can just get rid of this. We have 3x plus 9 plus 4x minus 5 plus 3x plus 9 plus 4x minus 5. So sometimes I stack them, put them on top, and sometimes I do them side to side. You can pick whichever method you prefer, okay? So now we're going to put all the x's together, 3 x's, 4 x's. Let's draw it just so we don't forget. This is 3 x's, this is 4 x's, this is 3 x's, this is 4 x's. So all together I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All together I have 14 x's. And then you could just take your calculator out and you could just add these together. So we have 9, let me do someplace else. We would have 9. So with your calculator, you go 9, subtract 5, plus 9, subtract 5, and that would give you your answer. I believe 9 subtract 5 is 4. 4 plus 9 is 13. 13 minus 5 is 8. And your calculator will just show you 8, but that means it's actually plus 8. And that is the perimeter for this shape right here. We're going to move on now to subtraction. Okay, let's look at our question here. We have 2a squared plus 3a plus 4 subtract 7a squared plus a minus 2. Now, when you have subtraction, you can't just remove the brackets. that does not work. It might work for adding, it does work for adding, but it doesn't work for subtracting. So what we need to do is we need to put the subtraction here and we're gonna stack them. So I'm gonna have 2a squared plus 3a plus 4 subtract 7a squared plus a minus 2. Okay, so that means what I need to do is I need to subtract those two, I need to subtract those two, and I need to subtract these two. That means I'll have 2a squared subtract 7a squared. I'll have 3a subtract 1a. If it just says a, that means 1a. And I have 4 subtract negative 2. So 2a squared subtract 7a squared would be negative 5a squared. If I did 3a subtract 1a, that would give me 2a. And if it's just 2, we want to put a plus in front. And then 4 subtract negative 2. 4 subtract negative 2 would be equal to 6. So you'd have to, on your calculator, go 4 subtract negative 2. Or maybe the button is like this. And some of you know the rule that anytime you subtract a negative, subtracting a negative actually means adding. So I have 4 plus 2. But if you're not sure about that yet, then you can use your calculator. So I'm going to write the full answer. My full answer would be minus 5a squared plus 2a. And this 6 on the calculator would just say 6. We know that means plus 6. That right there is the simplified answer for this question right there. Okay, so let's look at this last example together today. We have 3x squared plus 2x minus 5 subtract 5x squared minus 3x plus 2. You are welcome to do the question the way it's done in the picture. So just noticing that the minus affects the 5x squared, the minus affects the negative 3x, and the minus affects the 2. Or you can do the stacking method that I use, where you stack them together, and that means you have 3x squared subtract 5x squared, and then you have 2x subtract negative 3x, and then you have negative 5 subtract 2. So if I were to solve that, 3x squared subtract 5x squared gives you negative 2x squared. When there's only one thing, one sign between two numbers, that means this must be subtract. Okay, then we have 2x subtract negative 3x. So with my calculator, I'd have to go 2 subtract negative 3. And when I do that, 2 subtract negative 3 would give me 5x. Now, again, some of you know that when you've got a negative and a negative, it makes plus. So 2 plus 3x gives me 5x. And don't forget to put the plus at the front. We know it's a plus 5x. And then down here we have negative 5 subtract 2. This, it's at the front by itself. So it's negative 5 subtract 2. That would give you negative 7. So we're going to put them all together, and we get that when we subtract those polynomials, we have negative 2x squared plus 5x subtract 7. These are the two questions I'm going to leave you with to try at home. They were the same questions that we looked at on the first screen of this video, and I think now you should be able to do them. So I want you to try them. And I want you to send me your work so I can check it to make sure it is correct. And tomorrow, I think we'll have a second video on adding and subtracting polynomials because I know it can be a bit confusing.